Hello, we are live. I am Lisa J. Stocks. Thank you for tuning in for this week's Stock Talk episode. So, let me see. Please drop a comment. Let me know if you're able to hear me and see me okay. And let's get started. So, today we're going to be talking about the upcoming tariffs that are coming. What's new? What's happened in this last week on the stock market? We're going to touch on Tesla, Bitcoin, XRP, after we first dig into what Trump has in store for us on April the 2nd. So, our president has announced big plans that are coming as far as implementing significant tariffs, and that is coming up just in a few days. Thank you, Joe, for tuning in. So, this is being referred to as Liberation Day, and these tariffs aim to address his perceived unfair trade practices that are going on. And excuse me, one second. Throat. Don't want you all to have to listen to me coughing. But still don't sound clear. Sorry. Excuse me. And I didn't bring anything up here to drink. All right. Well, I think I'm just going to start over. Let me catch my breath. Thank you, Vincent, for that super chat to get us started today. I appreciate that.
And to investments.
Whoops, wrong one.
Thank you so much. We do greatly appreciate it.
All right. So now that a few people have rolled in, let me reintroduce today's topic. I got a little into a little bit of a coughing fit there for a second. But today we're going to be talking about the tariffs and what's going to be coming up on April 2nd. And we're going to touch on some stock market related news to the indices in general, but more specific on Tesla, a little bit on Bitcoin and XRP. So first, let's talk about what's coming up with these tariffs on April the 2nd in a couple of days. So, as I said, this is to address what the president believes to be unfair trade practices and to rebalance the trade relationship that we have with other countries. So, a big thing that's going to be upcoming is that cars that are not manufactured in the US, there's going to be a 25% tariff imposed on the vehicles as well as parts. And this is going to hit the automotive industry very hard. So, additional tariffs that will affect industries include pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, and other things like lumber. Like we needed anything else when it comes to pharmaceuticals or medications and anything doing with medical care. I know that's a big expense for me at times. But nations, the goal is to have other nations that are exporting more into the US, have the things shift so that they are at least importing and not just reaping all the benefits of having us as the consumers. So the administration aims to boost manufacturing by making imported goods more expensive. So hopefully encouraging us to buy American-made products, or potentially another scenario could be to have those foreign companies manufacturing within the US. But any which way you look at it, having the US be the ones that are gaining the jobs and benefiting more from all of the things that we need, the basic products that we need to shop for on a regular basis. So they want to reduce the trade deficit that we have with countries like China. So this announcement has led to a huge decline in the stock market, reflecting how investors are anxious about the potential economic impact that all of this is going to cause. So guys, let me put this back over to the comment section, make sure I'm not missing anything. Thank you everyone that's tuning in. I'm going to get through this first segment and then I'm definitely going to be taking station breaks and taking a look at the chat. But thank you. Oh, and Nightbot's working again. Okay, great. That hasn't been working for the last few weeks, but I'm sure we've all seen this. If you tune into my channel, you must be somewhat interested in the stock market. So yes, we have seen that there is a lot going on. And the international response to this is probably going to be that the countries that are affected by the tariffs, are they going to give in or are they going to consider fighting back with their own taxes and tariffs on anything that they need to get from the US? So this could escalate into a lot of trade conflicts and back and forth when it comes to just rising costs and disruption to um, everything that we need. We import a lot. So consumers, as I always say, there's not going to be any scenario, I believe, where the costs are not going to be passed off to us. So companies are going to make sure to pass on those increased costs when it comes to vehicles, electronics, or even a few weeks ago, I went through all of many basic needs that we have. It's not just the big things. It's things as even basic as our pet supplies could have elements within it, or the whole entire thing could have been manufactured elsewhere, and it's going to be impacted price wise because we're going to be importing it. So all right, so I've already touched on the global trade tensions, of course, always the increased consumer spending, but all of this is leading to a lot of uncertainty for businesses. And let's talk a little bit more about that. So, the first thing that comes to my mind that is I've seen a lot of in the news, and I've been through this several times in my own life, is lack of hiring or being laid off. But first, let's talk about some other things. Companies, as I said, when they're feeling the uncertainty of what's going to happen, how long this is going to go on for, are they going to be able to come to an agreement and these trades, these tariffs not be put in place? You just don't know. So this is going to make companies just want to hold off on any long-term costs because they cannot project because there's so much uncertainty right now. They don't know what's going to happen with their supply chain. They definitely can't tell what the market demand is going to be because depending on prices and what the consumers are going on with rising prices across the board, depending on what they supply, are we going to be able to afford to go out and purchase these things? Are we going to put it off? Are we going to say this is not a necessity right now? So this is going to make them hold off on making investments, on expanding, on incorporating new products. Just everything is going to have to slow down and tighten up a bit. And slowing economic growth, I think I think it's reasonable because if think of us, if we were in their shoes, what would we do? We would be concerned and we would want to have some way to project what was going on in order to make sure that we don't get in over our heads. So all these things are going to trickle down to us. And I think for companies, another big thing, as I mentioned first, is holding off on hiring or laying off in order to save on costs. So that's all I wanted to share. As April 2nd approaches, the markets and consumers are bracing for the implications that these tariffs um, could potentially lead to, especially on those larger purchases. But as I said, I think it's just going to be um, when all of your costs increase, large and small, your utilities, all of these different things. It's hard. And of course, your paycheck never increases at the rate of all of these inflationary things that I'm talking about. But the long-term effects will depend on what happens, how the negotiations go, because I feel like a lot of this is just a tactic in order to get things to improve for us, but potentially, if the other countries can come to some agreement or something reasonable, but at the same time, we're the ones that have to wait and see, as well as the companies have to wait and see how everything shakes out, and for us to get back into that place where we have that uncertainty that we like as people, and of course as the stock market likes. So we will see what happens with that. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about Tesla, which is a stock that I am still holding in my portfolio, not nearly up as high as I was a few months ago. I was up over 100% in every portfolio that I'm holding it in, but that has changed. Let's take a look at Tesla. But really, what I wanted to talk about when it comes to that is Cathie Wood's feeling, or let's see, year to date. Year to date, Tesla is down 34.74%. It's currently $263. So, Cathie Woods, she has a strong conviction when it comes to Tesla, despite it dropping nearly 40% this year. She has doubled down on her investment, and that she believes that Tesla autonomous taxis and the robo taxis, the robots, and all of these different things could lead to Tesla 10xing in the future. So she and some other analysts also believe that there is a potential 800+% gain in the next 5 years when it comes to Tesla. So as I've shared over the past and in my videos, I am holding on to my Tesla investment. It's not a huge portion of my portfolio, but I added it into my portfolio because of, just like everything else, in my conviction and belief in the company and the fundamentals of the company, not anything to do with Elon and his behavior as the leader of that particular company. So Tesla dip Tesla in general has been one of the more volatile investments that I've added into my portfolio. So it has big swings. And I believe that this dip is temporary. It's something that I'm willing to hold on and see how things turn out. The challenges that they have ahead, all of this with the tariffs on vehicles, and the future of the way things are going in certain states like California, where they want to move more to electric vehicles. So I'm holding, and I hope that people that are knowledgeable, that I look to for inspiration, and to like I've mentioned with Nancy Pelosi and Warren Buffett, I look to them for inspiration on what they're doing in their portfolios. And I just wanted to highlight that. I'm sure you may have seen that in the news, how Cathie Woods has that long-term vision, and it's a high percentage Tesla in her ARK Invest ETF. So it's something that I'm gonna hold on to and wait and see. Now, I'm not here to just diamond hands anything, but like I said, just I have a long-term vision for the company, and I'm not trying to just I'm not looking for that fast return when it comes to um, my investments. I'm a long-term investor, and I'm willing to wait it out. So let me see. Thank you everyone for tuning in. So far we've touched on the tariffs and what's coming up on April 2nd, and now we just chatted a little bit about Tesla. Now, let's see. Thank you, Steve, for that super chat, and thank you, Joe, for being a member for 7 months. Steve and Vincent, please let me know if you guys have any questions that I missed in the chat, but I appreciate you supporting the channel and sponsoring today's show. So now on to back to the market confusion, and how are you planning on navigating what we are going through currently? So investors are unsure about the tariffs and the policies and how it's going to impact their portfolios. I'm going to continue to share my portfolio, whether it's, I share the good and the bad. And I was looking back at some of my videos from 2023, and I'm going to put together something probably tomorrow, just talking about the progress that I've made. So analysts believe that the market volatility is going to persist. And as I just mentioned, we have a big date coming up this week. So I know that the investors, it's hard to keep that long-term strategy with all of this short-term, or I can't even say short-term, with all the volatility that's going on. I'm able to keep that long-term mindset. But I just want to encourage all of you to also not to be shaken out, or just give it time, even if it's years. You have to think about the big picture. That's why I'm mentioning 2023, because I took some time to reflect on where I was then and some of the investments. For example, Amazon, which I was pretty much getting started with it at that time. And glad now of what I built that I didn't give up on it, because there were certain investments in my portfolio. I mean, big names. I don't really talk much about the blue chip stocks that I have in my portfolio are things that you know. I see Keenan Grace is in the chat asking a really random question. Thank you, Keenan, for tuning in and chatting today. Should you put your full portfolio on a 0 days to expire GameStop call? Listen, I am the mentee, and you are the person I go to for this type of knowledge. But I would say, I don't know. I don't look at GameStop, and I don't plan on touching it ever. GameStop and those type of things. I don't like to. GameStop is down 30%. I was going to talk about GameStop next. Actually, let's just jump to that since Keenan's bringing it up. Now, what I wanted to talk about when it comes to GameStop, they just had their earnings last week. I don't even think I posted the earnings because I didn't really find anything too exciting in it. GameStop, Lululemon, there wasn't anything that I thought that was really of interest to my viewers, but GameStop did announce something that was interesting, and they are planning on making an investment into Bitcoin. So they are jumping on board with Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy and other companies like Marathon Digital in treating Bitcoin as a balance sheet asset that they want to incorporate. So you guys laughing at me in the chat? No, you guys are saying no, no Bitcoin, no GameStop. But so just wanted to touch on that because I saw some articles that were saying that corporate big corporations buying Bitcoin could potentially get it back up to 200K. We've all heard about the crypto reserve and more company holding Bitcoin could lead to bullish prices, but we're still dealing with that with regulatory issues when it comes to uh, incorporating crypto. The adoption hurdles they are still there, especially with XRP, which we're also going to touch on a little bit. But just wanted to touch on that because there's GameStop did not give a specific amount that they plan on investing, but it's assumed to be potentially significant. So let's see. Now, as I said, it's something that's still being incorporated. Not everyone is ready to warm up to it the way our president is. Banks like JP Morgan and even Vanguard are still a little apprehensive about taking on full adoption, but it is something that Bitcoin has been in my portfolio for several years now. And more recently, I have incorporated XRP. So the SRP, when it comes to XRP, they have recently had their SEC lawsuit dropped. And a little while ago, I took a look at it. It was $2.11. And I have some limit orders in. Let's see where it's at now. Okay, $2.15 right now. So I was late. Well, I won't say late because I still think it has a lot of potential, and that's why I added it. But I more recently added XRP at the end of last year into my portfolio, and I'm okay with that. Not everyone was able to catch it at 60 cents, but I am ready to hold for the long term, like I am with all of my investments that I add to my portfolio. So yes, after the long legal battle, even though that has been resolved and they are going to be paying their fine. When it comes to Ripple XRP, they are going to be paying $50 million of the original $125 million fine that they had going on with the SEC. But even though that was good news for them, it doesn't just automatically trickle down and all of a sudden, the price of this crypto rises drastically. But we have to be okay with that, just like some of the stocks that I'm going to touch on, and just think about the long term and take these low prices as an opportunity to have a chance to build up. So let's see, what else do I have here? So now let's get back to those individual stocks. And when I talk about these stocks, these are in my taxable accounts. This is outside of my 401k or IRA, but I always like to just share that because that is my top priority. And I want people to always, in my opinion, put that before having taxable accounts. You may not have the budget to be doing all of the things meaning having focusing on your retirement account, having taxable accounts, investing on behalf of your children. You have to focus on what you're able to and what is the right thing for you. So I'm doing a little bit of all of it, but obviously my biggest investment is going into my retirement account. So when it comes to those individual stocks, they are being hit hard, especially certain industries like tech, as opposed to like consumer. But we have to, I also make sure to incorporate a lot of ETFs because ETFs are not going to fall as hard as those individual stocks. But I've been continuing to DCA into those high conviction investments that I've added into my portfolio for the long term, and I'm going to continue working on them. Um, Keenan, who I don't know if he's still here, but in his video yesterday, he went into some detail related to Google, and that is one that I am going to be continuing to put focus on while it is down, as well as Microsoft, Meta, and my ETFs like VTI. So I'm going to share another video soon as we are at the end of the quarter when it comes to how I'm doing in my positions that track the S&P 500, as well as I always share an overview of my dividends received and like where I'm at on certain investments. So we all have to remember that I know it's a hard right now when our portfolios are going to be down, but if you sell, you're locking in the losses. So I'm not saying we have to hold on to everything, not anything. There are some things if you have to take the time, you have to do some research, you have to have an understanding of the PE ratio. Is this something worth holding on to? Is this still a thriving, growing company? Everything there, if you truly evaluate it and it is a sinking ship that is not coming back, then I understand you have to make that choice for yourself. Is it time to let it go? But for me, not in the position. I've made my choices. I've cut the things that were added into my portfolio that should not have been. They should have been trades and not investments. And so now I have ETFs and those my chosen blue chip stocks that I'm ready and willing to hold on to even during these times when there is a lot of pullback. So let's go back to what we were talking about here when it comes to the indices. We ended the week, all the indices were in the red, severely down. Let's look at the S&P 500, for example, down 2% alone on Friday, down 3% on the week. Year to date, down a little over 5%. But it's a totally different year that we are going through right now with this new administration. So it's a harder time to reflect on history when it comes to these indices and these companies with being impacted by these tariffs. But I believe even if it is in the next administration, that there are certain companies that I have, and I am definitely comfortable holding on to them for the long term. So let me take a break now. I think I've at least touched on all of the topics that I planned on talking about today. I have more notes, but I might save that for something else that I have in mind. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the chat and see if there's any questions. Guys, please share them, but I'm going to go up to the top and take a look at what's going on here. So Kevin is asking, am I optimistic for April 2nd tariff announcements? No, I am not optimistic. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. I think it's going to cause a lot of volatility and but it will never scare me off from investing, and it will not cause me to sell any of my investments. Okay, put options on Tesla. Tesla's pretty. I was out on Friday and I was parked next to I mean, I see Tesla Cybertrucks around town all of the time. Um, but I don't know. I think this might have been the first time I was so up close on one, but I go walking back to my car and I'm parked next to this big old Cybertruck. The freaking tires were so huge. And I'll tell you, I walked around my car before I got into it just to check because the crazy things are happening with people vandalizing Teslas and these Cybertrucks and throwing paint on at the Tesla facility that's nearest to me and yeah. So I am actually worried about people that are driving Teslas out here for their safety and just people's random behavior that should not be going on as a retaliation against someone in that way. So Mark is sharing that this is a great opportunity to reduce your cost basis on many of your investments. Most definitely. We've talked about that. I've shared about that I had taken a break from investing into my Apple stock when I think my average was about $120. And I never should have done that. But in retrospect, I never let that bother me because during the time when that long stretch of time, many months when I didn't buy any Apple at all, I was then buying Google and Microsoft and Amazon and other things that were able to get built up. At the same time, I should have given a little attention and love to Apple, but I'm not going to let that bother me. Can't go back now. Okay. I'm just taking a look to see if there's any particular questions or things that we can chat about. So Stock Talk David is saying I had high hopes for 2025, but now not sure. Yes, I can say I think I feel the same way that I had high hopes. I know back probably in December, um, I was saying in my videos, everyone was saying in their videos that you should basically be the richest that you've ever been because the market was thriving so much. We saw what happened after the election and leading towards inauguration. With Bitcoin as well as the S&P 500, the indices, everything was just thriving so much. But this is what we have. The person is in power, and we have to wait for everything, all the changes, and everything to be shaken out now before we will know what is going to be the long-term implication. But I think in time, of course, I know in time things will recover, and um, I'm not going to give up on anything that I've incorporated into my portfolio. Hi, Brown. No. Is this your first time here? Thanks for tuning in. So, I haven't seen it in my I know Nightbot is working today, but I am just oh, yes, there it is right now. Take a station break. So let's take a quick station break. If you're chatting, I know that you are subscribed, but if you're just out there listening, if you're enjoying what you're hearing today, make sure you subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up, and um, we talk all things related to investing and finance, staying out of debt, having your emergency savings. That's all that you're going to hear about over here on this channel. So if that's something that you enjoy, please make sure to subscribe and check out my videos throughout the week. I do not stick to a definite schedule of when I post, but turn on that notification bell so that you can keep up with all of my videos and live streams. If you are interested in opening a new account, you can check out my referral links. And if you want to support the channel as well as get additional content, make sure to consider joining channel membership. Okay, Brown, you've been a member for months now. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. People forgot what happened when Trump first got elected, crypto fell. Yeah, I think I don't this is what I mean when I say, like, we can't everything is so different right now, even though there are some things that we could look back on because him and his administration, it's not his first time around, but at the same time, he came back with such a different agenda, and wanting to make changes that we didn't see the first time around, and things that have been, as I was talking about a couple weeks back, things that have been in place for nearly 100 years. He wants to go and change because we've been since I can't remember off the top of my head what year, but income taxes and just a different structure in America has been in place for so long, and now he's trying to shift it back to, you know, I don't want to use his phrase, but to help America to thrive by imposing these tariffs and trying to increase production and things of that nature. So, Miss V, thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's see. So Brown is going to be using his tax refund to find some good stocks to invest in. Okay, so stay in the market. Stay in the market. Times like this, wealth is built. Remember what happens after the storm. The sun always shines the brightest. Thank you for sharing that, the one. I agree with you 100%. Okay. So guys, drop any questions that you have. I'm just going to touch on one particular investment that I was looking back on. Hey, Rod, thanks for tuning in and chatting with everyone. So I was looking back to February 9th of 2023 to my Amazon investment at that time. I was down. I don't know exactly when I started investing into Amazon, but at that time I was down 11%. But I didn't let that bother me. It's Amazon. So, of course, I kept on going. It's probably a newer investment or just everyone has a different starting point when they start investing. So, you know, my portfolio is not going to match up with anyone else's as far as the percentage gain that I have. So, I kept going with dollar cost averaging in, and then I was looking at a video that I did on June 1st, and at that time, I was up 8%. And now let's look at where Amazon is currently. So year to date, Amazon is down 12.16%. But even with that decline that we've had so far this year, I'm still up over 40%. So, um, just sharing this as an example of incorporating what you believe is a good sound investment. And it's not about belief on not financial advice, but I'm talking about the fundamentals of the company. So wherever your starting point is, you may not, you know, investing is not always that straight shot up. It's a lot of ups and downs. And so I just always like to share the good and the bad with you and just let you know that I've been there before. It wasn't that same time at that same time frame when my Amazon stock was down by 11%. This is back, as I said, February of 2023 on this particular when I was sharing this particular day, my Amazon was down 11%. My Google stock was down 3%. My Disney stock was down 20%. But those I still have every share that I had at that time, I still had them in my portfolio and I continue to add into them. Um, at that time, I had a goal of getting to 10 shares of Amazon and 6 shares of Google. I've surpassed my goals that I set at that time. But really, what I'm trying to say is, don't give up on your investments. I've been through the ups and downs, and in time, these things have built up. And now, even with what we're looking at today, um, what we're looking at this year, or what we may be looking at in many months to come, once you put in the work now, taking this opportunity of buying the investments why they are beat down, especially things like Google, when things turn around, you're going to be happy. And if I didn't look back to that video from February of 2023, I would not have even remembered a time when I was in the negative when it comes to my Amazon investment. No, I do not know of any stock splits, upcoming, Brown. I did post in my community wall, I think last week, a poll question asking, what out of what I named a few, and obviously you can comment if you wanted. I named a few there, that I asked the community to vote on and let me know which would you like to see a stock split on. But I guess what I listed there are things that I probably had in mind of a potential of upcoming stock splits, but no, I haven't seen anything uh, posted specifically in the news. I know I had Eli Lilly and some other ones listed. And I remember Mommy Trader commented with her pick of something that she wished would have a stock split, and it was Costco. So I listed the question. I put Eli Lilly, Meta, Netflix, and Microsoft. And the winner of that poll was Microsoft as the company that people wanted to see have a stock split. So, Brown, what is the company that you would like to see have the next stock split coming up? With the tariffs, so I think companies are going to shift production to least tariff companies like Vietnam and India. Don, I really don't know. If there's an opportunity, of course, manufacturers or suppliers here are going to try to do that. But whatever it is, it just doesn't happen overnight. If you've been dealing with a certain supplier out of China and getting your things, I just feel like if the tariffs are put in place and that country is not willing to, play ball, and they're not willing to negotiate, make the changes, then that could be the outcome. But how long is it going to take to be put in place, and how long are we going to be impacted by waiting for the transition? That's my bigger concern, but I think that's definitely what will happen if, you know, we have a better trade agreement and process in place with those other countries. But I think that with everything that's going on, there is an intent to reduce trade with India and the European Union also. So it just overall, this administration wants to lessen us bringing in, unless that country, I'm sorry, I keep saying company, that country for some reason has a need for our products. It just seems like I don't know how else, unless they're going to deal with these tariffs. How are they going to be able to get their products in, and how are we going to be able to afford it? I'm just rambling now. I'm sorry, but Coca-Cola consolidation. Okay, I think Tim is sharing a headline that he's seen about Coca-Cola potentially having an upcoming stock split. Is this keyboard loud, guys? Let's see. Yeah, I don't have Coca-Cola in my portfolio, and so not something I look at often, and I did miss this. So earlier this month, there were plans of an announcement of a 10-for-1 stock split was announced when it comes to Coca-Cola. So that might be the next biggest company that has the upcoming stock split. Americans love sugar. Agreed. And soda and McDonald's and all that stuff. Okay, so guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for helping me get to 5,500 subscribers. Please make sure to check out my videos during the week. Have that notification bell on. Feel free to share any requests or things that you want to have in mind for Sunday Stock Talk episode topics, as well as videos throughout the week. I appreciate your input. Thank you again to Vincent and Steve for the super chat, as well as all of the channel members that have tuned in today. Miss V, Joe, the Stock Explorer, TWP. I believe you are currently a gifted member. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm just taking one last look at the chat. Thank you for tuning in, Rod. I hope to collaborate with you soon. And I will see you next week for our regular Stock Talk episode, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Stock it up, stock it up.